Today on Locked On Canadiens, it was the Habs golf tournament this year. Last year, the story was they wanted to be in the mix. This year, the story is they want to make Kirby Dach a thing. Plus, are Hughes and Gorton getting an extension?
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. As you know, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Laura Sab, also known as the Active Stick, and I'm joined, as always, by the wonderful Ian Boisvert, my co-host, also known as Maybe It's Ian. Ian, it is the first day of school, it feels like. The Habs golf tournament took place. We are reading way too much into all the quotes that came out of it. We enjoyed a lot of clips all day long. How are you feeling? Like, does it feel real now?
It is feeling real. However, I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get a new The Mix. We didn't get a new soundbite, a new mantra. I woke up on Monday, like Christmas morning, waiting to see what Papa Marty was going to leave under the tree for us, and we didn't really get much except a lot of more lofty expectations for Kirby Dach, which I just find to be very funny given how most of the summer went to this point.
Yes, and that's what we're going to talk about in our first segment, as you put it, the darkness of it all, and then we'll talk a little bit about the rumors / confirmation that Geoff Molson is talking extension with Hughes and Gorton. And then finally, we're going to go back to our division stack up that our wonderful listener, Jacques Facepunch, asked for. And we'll do that against Buffalo in the last segment. We've still got a couple of teams to go this week. But first, let's focus on Kirby Dach. So it's really funny because we had like similar but different interpretations of what we heard about Kirby Dach. If you are Kirby Dach, let's put it this way. If you are Kirby Dach, after today and the quotes and what the team has been saying, do you feel the pressure? Do you feel encouraged? Do you feel nervous? What do you feel going into the season?
I think if you're Kirby Dach I'll just say what we're talking about is Jeff Gorton saying the plan is for him to be ready for opening night, which is a difference from just a few weeks ago when Kent Hughes gave an interview to NHL.com and said, we might have him opening night. We might not have him. We might have to wait a couple weeks. We're going to give Kirby the time to be Kirby again. To now, the plan is be ready opening night. On top of that, Marty St. Louis was asked about him and said, I talked to Kirby quite a bit this summer. He's worked really hard. He looks great. He's progressing to be ready for the season. We know what Kirby is capable of. I think he's done everything this summer to get back to that. We'll see, but very encouraged. I think if you're Kirby Dach, when you wake up on Tuesday morning, you're feeling a little bit more prepared for how this season is going to go, in that those are the expectations that are going to be on you. We talked a lot about how they were kind of sheltering him from expectations throughout the summer. I think that's helpful to an extent, but in a market like Montreal, they better start getting him ready for those expectations now, because they're not going anywhere. He needs to be ready to go because the team kind of depends on it at this point.
They need him to be what he promised, or not him specifically in his words. They need him to live up to the promise that he had when the Canadiens traded for him. And right. I think last year we talked a lot about how long the on-ramp was, what a devastating injury it was that he came back from, the psychological aspect of it all. But the fact remains that if Kirby Dach is able to hit that potential, and when I say potential, we have seen it in some games. We've seen it in the few games that he played before he got injured like 2 seasons ago. We saw it when he first joined the team and we didn't know what to expect, and we saw some of it. There were flashes of it. Like, if he's able to be consistent, imagine what an incredible line mate he can be to Patrick Laine and Ivan Demidov, right? And anyone that you put on there, whether like maybe they want to put Zach Baldick up there or something, there's all like, it all hinges on him being able to perform up to expectations. We know that he's capable of doing it. We just don't know if he's capable of doing it consistently. And I think that's a huge thing. Like when you have a team that's going to rely on depth, scoring by committee, really, like there's no elite superstar on the team until such a time as Ivan Demidov proves himself to be one. You really need that depth, all of it to be performing on all cylinders. And last year we had so many positive things to say about all of the players. Like they all were really understanding the assignment, doing what they needed to do. And we felt that wasn't coming from Kirby Dach. And I feel like if he's able to do it, just like how much better is this team this year than last year?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, look, we're talking about a situation that as Kirby Dach has gotten hurt, has left an entire line kind of not unusable, but certainly not, up to the level of potency that we thought they would be.
It's not optimal.
No, it was never optimal. I mean, was it when he got hurt not the first time technically, because that whole first year he was here, he had like trench foot or something going on. The second year where he got hurt 2 games into the season, and we had to live with Slafkovsky, Newhook, and Anderson for way too long. That line was just not what it should have been. And I mean that had repercussions outside of that line being bad. It had a hard time with Yuri Slafkovsky and his confidence, and it broke Josh Anderson for a while. Just got him back.
Yeah. We had last year, we had an identity line. I feel like that line with Anderson and Yuri Slafkovsky was like the mistaken identity line. Like it was just
the identity theft line. Yeah.
Yeah. So it hinges on it a lot. So like I'm cautiously optimistic. And here's the thing, it's that we were very critical of him last year. In fact, we had like some listeners say, hold on, like the depth of that injury, it's nothing to play around with. But I'm reserving cautious optimism for Kirby Dach this season. I'm not expecting him to change the world. I just want him to put together some consistent effort and be able to play a full season, or something resembling a full season, and just be decent.
Yeah.
Just be decent.
He doesn't have to dominate for that line to be successful. I really hope he was watching on Saturday night. I really hope he was watching how often Demidov was getting pucks to the middle of the ice, getting pucks through dangerous areas of the ice. He can just go to the net with his stick down and he's going to pick up some goals. I hope that he was watching and paying attention and understanding that, he is going to be the beneficiary of a player who is going to be able to take a lot of pressure off of him. Like a rookie is going to step in on that line, assuming it's Dach down the middle, and we're not going to be too worried about how Kirby Dach is looking, so long as, it's sort of one hand doesn't know what the other's doing. If Demidov is doing Demidov stuff, as long as Kirby Dach is just not a net negative on the ice every time he's out there, they're going to be fine. And Patrick Laine is going to be on the other side, hopefully scoring more than 3 5-on-5 goals, right? Like I feel like this line, just by virtue of, they're back and ready to put together a full season. I think it's going to be fine. I think that regression works both ways. There's positive regression too. I feel like that's where we're headed.
I hope so. I really do, because like all I want is for these players to succeed. And I think there's a lot of pressure on Kirby Dach right now. And unfortunately, whether he asked for it or not, it's fully warranted. Like he is the default second line center of this team, and this on a team that really needs a strong second line center. So, he's going to have to live up to it. And the thing is, like, it could be mental, it could be physical, but if they're talking about how much work he put in the summer and all of that, and if Martin St. Louis is saying very, very encouraged, I don't know if Martin St. Louis has seen medical reports or if he's hearing about sports psychology or whatever it is, but if Martin St. Louis is saying he's very, very encouraged, and if Kent Hughes is saying the plan is for him to be ready opening night, for me, like, I think that this is make or break for Kirby Dach, but I have no reason at this moment to believe that he can't live up to that expectation.
Yep, absolutely. I'm still so excited. Like, I just can't believe we're getting to this point. Yeah. I'm just really shocked that a lot of the conversation at camp was about Kirby Dach. And I know, like, we live in a bit of a fan echo chamber. We've been talking about him a lot. The whole summer was the summer of 2C or not 2C.
Yeah.
And how
absolutely.
funny is it at the end of this? The answer is going to be Kirby Dach.
If it's Kirby Dach, honestly, if it's Kirby Dach, it's kind of found money at this point. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But there were some choice quotes about the stage in the rebuild. And we also heard from multiple sources that Geoff Molson is talking extension with his management team. And we're going to talk about that right up next. First, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I'm going to say that again. If your first $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right. The golf tournament is one of our favorite things because we get all kinds of quotes from it. So for me, I'm just going to go and say the most important one was one of the first ones we heard was when Renaud Lavoie was talking to Geoff Gorton. He was talking about the rebuild. And then Geoff said that we could we can remove the first two letters from there. Now we're building, right? Something along those lines. But essentially he changed rebuild into build. And Ian, I know you have some things to say about that.
Well, yeah, that was my whole thing. Was I did a whole show called The Build because you guys farted around calling it a rebuild. So I'd made a joke at your expense that this was called a build, and then you end up just calling it a build anyway. It's fine. My lawyers will be in touch, but it's fine.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that before we get into like any of the other things I said about roster building and the extension or whatever? Like, what are your, like, how do you feel? Like, I still feel like they are in the rebuild. Like, I'll be honest.
I think we have to categorize when the rebuild ends. Like these terms are subjective in that they don't it depends on who you ask.
They don't
Like
really mean anything, but they mean a lot.
Right. The problem is when you declare the rebuild over sooner than it is, you end up like Ottawa, where they did that and everyone kind of clowned on them, and for good reason. They weren't done. I think the Senators are pretty much done with their rebuild now. Now they're building. And I think Montreal's in a very similar spot. They got there a little bit sooner than maybe some had expected. But they also, Montreal held on to a lot more of their veteran pieces than, say, an Ottawa did, right? Like part of the problem with a lot of these teams that tear it down to the studs is they don't have anybody to play hockey. And I know that sounds silly, but like, remember like the first year with Connor Bedard in Chicago, and they were just like Taylor Hall $5 million, Foligno $6 million, Corey Perry $4 million, because they just needed guys. Like, and those are good leaders to have around, good dudes to have in the locker room. But like that was sort of the problem there. Like Ottawa had that problem. Montreal never really had that problem because they had Savard, they have Gallagher and Anderson, they have Matheson, right? So like that's where I tend to believe that the rebuild in a sense is over because all their core pieces are in place with the exception of David Reinbacher, who we believe is going to start in Laval. But like, is that when it's over? When he's a full-time NHLer? Is that when the rebuild is done? When they have all of those things that you rebuilt for playing in the National Hockey League? I don't think that's a bad description either. Right? Like, where are you at? Like, what is because you don't feel like it's over. When would it be over in your mind?
It's over for me when they're a consistent threat to at least make the playoffs, because I think you make the rebuild, you make the playoffs once, you can't at that point declare the rebuild over, right? Because the whole point of a rebuild is to turn into a championship team, not necessarily winning the cup every year, not even winning the cup at all, but being a perennial threat to potentially win it, right? Like that to me is when the rebuild is over. So for me, I think they make the playoffs comfortably this year. I'll say okay, but I'm still in that rebuild because it could go wrong, right?
Sure.
It could be one injury away of like this, again, I don't want to bring that
So
juju
is
on us.
everyone.
Yeah.
So is everyone. Everyone's an injury away. We're all day to day. It's fine. I
It's
I I think the one issue I'll take with that explanation or description is that like that means that there's like 25 teams rebuilding, right? Like there's only so many of them that we can say are legitimate Stanley Cup threats every year, and some of them don't even make it to the final. Like Carolina
right.
is a legitimate threat every year.
Yes,
Like they're not right.
but for me, it's the rebuild is like when you do tear it down,
Yeah.
when you do that thing where you're in the basement for a couple of years, whether you intentionally tank or not. Like you said, like you could get rid of a bunch of guys, a bunch of your veterans, and then have nobody to play. Or like Montreal, you did luck into that first overall a little bit. Like you got helped a lot by injuries at that point. But like when you go from being a zero to being a perennial. So like if it's a team, like I would say that a team like Carolina, for example, like the rebuild was over many years ago. I would not consider them a rebuilding team, right?
Yeah.
Does that
No,
make
that's
sense?
fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. I think there has to be some evidence that you were really, really, really bad,
Yes.
and had a plan to get back to not being bad.
Exactly. And when I say not being bad, I mean nobody wants to play you in the playoffs. Does anyone want to play Florida in the playoffs? No.
No,
No, right?
I don't want to play Florida in the regular season, and we swept them last year. Like I still don't want to see those guys.
No, you don't, right? Like Boston in like, the early 2010s, right? Did you want to play
Ugh.
them? Never, right? So
That was when the rivalry was good,
that
though.
was
Like that
fun.
was the last of like, man, this rules.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it wasn't the Habs constantly losing to them, right? It was like Toronto. So like
Yeah,
did Toronto want to see Boston in the play? No, right?
nah,
So that's the kind of team, whereas I feel like with the Blues, they were kind of one and done, right?
right.
That's very different. So whether the Canadians are a perennial contender or like they actually do win the Stanley Cup, like I do think that the end of the rebuild is when you are consistently expected to just make the playoffs. Okay, well, yeah, one slot's going to
Yeah,
go to Montreal, kind of like how we talk about Tampa right now, kind of
sure.
like how we talk about Toronto, or you know, you brought up Carolina. Carolina. All right. I also want to talk a little bit about one thing that Kent Hughes said was that we're not done building our team, and he indicated that he's going to hold on to that cap space in case a player that they're interested in becomes available, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
Where did your mind go when you heard that?
yeah. I thought that was interesting. Transposed with the Kirby Dach's going to be ready for game one, and like I found that to be interesting because it's sort of like I'm not paying for Pavel Zacha. You're figuring this out because that's what we're paying you to do, is to
Yeah.
play hockey for us.
Yes.
So I think like to me it comes off as we're going to camp with the team we have, and we will learn more about this team and make another decision later on. That flexibility is the flexibility to learn more about this team and decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
Also Crosby, maybe.
Well, that was the thing too, because you could tell, like, neither, I think it was Renaud Lavoie that was talking to him at that point. Neither Renaud Lavoie nor Kent Hughes could say the Sidney Crosby. Crosby is currently giving out gifts to season ticket holders in Pittsburgh. He's very much a Pittsburgh Penguin right now, extremely entrenched as a
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Penguin. But I thought it was like that whole "I'm not paying for a second line center, you figure it out, Kirby Dach" message was kind of was a good one. Real quick, sources, apparently multiple sources, say that Geoff Molson has begun discussing extensions for Hughes and Gorton. What are your thoughts on that? You want to write them a blank check?
I would personally. I think that they have found two guys who are uniquely qualified for this job, for the jobs that they hold. Now, I will say that you're about to pay them for a job that they have not really done yet, which is turning this into a perennial Stanley Cup champion. They've done that in the macro sense, right? Long term, they've built that, but it's going to be different when they have to turn it on, and they're going to have to make some really, really tough decisions coming up.
Yeah.
And some of that means like the guys that you like might not be here. So like that's what the money's for, is for them to make those decisions. I've in my time watching this team, I've never been more confident in a front office than these guys. I think that they have the juice to do this. Like they are uniquely qualified for this role. And I gave, as many did, I gave Geoff Molson a lot of crap for the way that he had built teams in the past. You have to tip your cap to him here. He got very, very creative with how he managed to build this team and still respect the culture that this team has. Like, they have a guy from Massachusetts as the vice president of hockey operations, and we don't really talk about it that much because everyone's really stoked about where the team is. So like, that's, to me, I think, yes, I'm blank check. You guys can have whatever you want. It's not like it goes against the salary cap. Like, have fun.
Yeah, no, they've got a lot of money, the Canadiens. All I will say, though, is finals appearances and Stanley Cups, you get a massive, massive bonus. Like, really, really, like, you know, a thing called a discretionary bonus structure where, like, Geoff Molson can be like, oh, you won the Stanley Cup, here's some millions on top of the millions you already make, right? That's what I would say. Like, and a lot of people are like, blank check, blank check. I'm like, they haven't done the job yet. They haven't completed it yet. But I get where everyone is. Like, this is, you know, like, it could go horribly wrong, but this is the first time where I feel like it's probably not going to go horribly wrong. So, yeah.
This is a contract where you get paid for what you've done, not what you will get paid for what you do. Yeah. Like, then they've earned it. They've rebuilt this team. They've modernized the Canadiens. They deserve this.
Yes. The culture that they've built, and just the hope and optimism that they've instilled in this team across the fan base around the world, I think, is huge. All right. We are going to go back to our series comparing division rivals. We've already done a few teams, and Buffalo's up next, coming up in just a moment. First, this episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone like yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. And I've been in that spot where you need to make the right hire as soon as possible. There's deadlines. If you don't have the right person, it's impossible to meet them. And that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. All right. A few weeks ago, our good friend of the show, Jacques Facepunch, asked if we could do a series where we stack up the Canadiens against their division rivals. We've already talked about Florida and Tampa. We talked about Toronto. And today it is Buffalo's turn. And we're going to leave the hardest ones for last. So we're going to do Buffalo, then Boston, then Ottawa and Detroit. So it's tempting to say that Buffalo is going to disappoint again. It's quite tempting to say that. And the reason is their management.
Yeah. So this is a team in the Buffalo Sabres who last year were top 10 in offense. They were 10th in the NHL in goals for, with 265. They were, however, 29th in goals against at 287. There was we saw them up close and personal. You know, the offense, they have a lot of offensive talent. Obviously not enough to beat Jakub Dobeš for some reason. But the management knew that about this team, right? They knew, okay, we are not good enough defensively. So they ship out JJ Peterka to the Utah Mammoth, who was already on the way out. They get Michael Kesselring, who is a right shot defenseman, 25 years old. Hey, look, that's a step in the right direction. They then also they just added a few days ago in Alexander Georgiev, a goaltender, another goalie. There's a million goalies that play for the Buffalo Sabres. And none of them are particularly good right now.
This is why everyone always asks us if the Canadiens are going to trade for Devin Levi.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't think the Canadiens need Devin Levi. I think their goaltending position now and in the future is, if anything, you should be asking why the Buffalo Sabres don't want Jacob Fowler. Like, that paradigm has shifted. It's not going back. Like, I think a lot of it too is to keep Devin Levi out of the NHL, because like until the Sabres can learn to defend, don't put him into those situations. Like, sort of, the lessons that Montreal might have learned from Caden Primo is like, hey, the team's bad, don't put him out there. And they never learned that. I think Buffalo's challenging for me, because I really like, you look up and down the roster and you're like, man, this is a good team. Rasmus Dahlin, Tage Thompson. Yes, they just lost JJ Peterka, but they add Michael Kesselring, who I think will be pretty good there. Zach Benson's going to be great. Bowen Byram's great. Owen Power. I got all the way down that list without saying Owen Power. There's guys on this roster. It's not because of palm trees that they haven't figured this out. Like, what is it with Buffalo? Is it just as bad as the ownership just keeps hiring lackeys to run the team?
I think so. And the thing is, like, there are some really smart people in that organization, right? If some of the people that were the support management staff were actually running the team, maybe things would be different. There could also be a budget thing, right? Like, we don't know. Like, somebody got mad at me for saying the Ottawa Senators had like an internal cap or something like that.
They do.
They do. Like,
reported.
Yes. And so, like, you never know with Buffalo, because I know that they really, the minds that they got to run some of their scouting, analytics, that kind of stuff. And that's why you're saying, like, all the names you said, right? Like, they've got some incredible pieces. They just, like, that's the 2025 NHL. Their players are the 2025 NHL. Their management and their coaching staff is 2005 NHL.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, they have all of this, and they have this analytics team. They have a lot of bright people working in the front office to give the coaching staff some insights on how things are going. Their coach is Lindy Ruff. Still. I don't like, it doesn't matter how smart everybody else is when you have a dino running your team. And Lindy Ruff might be a really nice guy. Like, I don't know him personally. All I know is that, like, he's been run out of every team he's been on as of late because he just has not adapted to an NHL style. I also found last year, one of the things that I think the Sabres got a lot of crap for was it when Tage Thompson got hurt and nobody stepped up and did anything? Like, that's something that used to happen in Montreal when things were bad. Remember when, was it Cassian hit Montembeault and Jeff Petrie took a lot of crap for not doing anything? I always hated that, like, there were 4 other guys on the ice and none of them got crap, but Jeff Petrie did. I always thought that was unfair. But the point stands, someone needed to do something and nobody. Like, that's rampant in Buffalo right now. I to the point where until that kind of mentality is fixed, I don't see them accomplishing anything of value.
They need to change the GM and they need to change the coach. Like, that's
and again, but the mentality of the players too, where if your best player gets laid out at center ice, even if it's clean, you have to do something about it.
Yeah. And, like, where does that come from, right? Like, it's the leadership. And it just, like, the defeatist attitude in that we made so much fun of the palm trees thing, but it was not the actual quote itself. It was the defeatist attitude in that, right? Like, if your team is not a destination, it is 100% within your power to make it a destination, right?
Yeah, there's no palm trees in Montreal either, and Noah Dobson just signed here for 8 years because he wanted to be here.
Plus, like, the taxes and the language and the schools and all the complaints people always have about Montreal. This is a destination now.
Yeah, and Buffalo can be. Like, it's not, we're like, I'm thinking of like the Briere, Drury, Sabres. That team was so good and the fans were nuts and that building was always so loud. I always used to fear going in there. Like, I felt like Ryan Miller was just going to shut everybody out all of the time. That's a long way away now, but it's not so far where nobody remembers it. Yeah. And I find that that's super frustrating, especially when, like, every year the top television markets for the Stanley Cup final are like, Buffalo's always in there. They love hockey. They just don't like the Sabres right now.
And that's the thing too. It's like, we've seen how crazy Bills fans can get, Even if you're too young
Yes.
to remember, or you don't remember how crazy Buffalo Sabres fans were, like that market is crazy. It's such a lucrative market, and like players would love playing there if there was winning, right? So and we went off on a tangent. We were supposed to stack them up side by side. I think Montreal wins with front office and coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they win at just about every position, especially with Demidov showing up. Like
Yeah.
I would take their forwards over Buffalo's forwards. The defense is tough because they have a lot of really solid defenders. Offensive defensemen. Maybe Buffalo gets the edge there, but goaltending's not close.
No.
Like it's not close. Sam Montembeault, we'll give him crap for giving up that wrister from the blue line, once every couple games. But like I would still take him over all of Buffalo's goalies stacked in a trench coat. Like it's not close.
No, not at all. This was fun. We had a question about trivia. Trivia will be back next week with the games. We'll bring it back. I'm sorry. We just partly like my also not being able to get it together.
We are not in the best shape of our lives. The players are. We are not. I'm still pausing. I'm still muting to cough constantly. Like we're making it into the season on fumes.
Yes, absolutely. I'm still like in zombie mode. But here's what. Much like Kirby Dach, the plan is to know.
Yeah, the plan is to be ready for opening night.
We are getting back into game shape, you guys, and we really appreciate how much you support us, even when we're having our off nights, even when I'm making a mistake about who the Montreal rookies are playing against. I really like when I said that they were going to play against Ottawa, it was because I was thinking about the preseason game I'm going to, which is the one against Ottawa. So,
well, they also play Ottawa all the time in these rookie showcases. Remember Arbor Xhekaj fighting all of them? Like that's not a distant memory.
Yeah. I'm so excited about a Tujakai year. I think it's coming. I really do. I think we're close. Maybe not the whole year, but we're having some Tujakai games. All right. So I want to thank everyone for listening. And also, I want to remind you guys to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Please tell your friends. The season is starting. We want to have so much fun talking about all these games with you guys, talking about all kinds of exciting things. You can also find us on social media. We're at Locked On Canadiens on TikTok. We're Locked On Canadiens on Instagram. We're Locked On Canadiens on Blue Sky as well. You can reach us there. You can also DM us there. You can communicate with us, send us mailbag questions. I already have one for next week. And you can also email us at lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. And send us your mailbag questions. Roberts Brothers, we have not forgotten about you. So please communicate with us. Our Friday mailbag episodes are always our favorite thing. So send us mailbag questions, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com or in the YouTube comments. We want to thank you all so much for listening, and we will be back tomorrow.